Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back to the TeamIslas podcast, episode 12. I think we made it. We made it to sixth grade percussion.
Yeah.
My name is Doug Bush, and today I'm joined by
Patricia Islas
and
Zach Shear.
And this is the podcast for anyone looking to better themselves at percussion education. Drumline Camp. This takes many shapes and many forms throughout the nation. In Texas, it's often a full 5-day week of every days, I did air quotes there, that result in drumming all day. With many programs, this might be the only time of the year you can bring out a specialist or even a staff to help teach the drumline. Today's podcast is about the scheduling of this camp and how to get the most out of that schedule. We're not going to get into the specifics of teaching the camp. That'll be a future episode. Today, we will focus more on the literal scheduling of your drumline camp. Mr. Shear, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, absolutely. First, I'll give a big thanks to TeamIslas because I can remember big changes we made in the drumline camp at Capel because of things you guys brought to the table.
And we would like to give a big thanks to Mr. Shear for being open and receptive to those changes because not everyone you work with is.
Absolutely.
And genuinely, I would just throw this out there on that side note. Guys, it never hurts to try. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I throughout the entirety of my career, there are so many times where, oh no, dude, traditional grip with a tilt. Let's just try match 1 year. No, dude, bass is behind. Okay, let's put basses on the side 1 year. And I very genuinely in my heart, if we had just tried it in those situations, and then at the end of the year, the dude would come back and be like, hey, I see some values and benefits, but I like the basses behind, you're the boss. Sounds good. And
Absolutely.
the fact that you even tried it gets me, but to not even try. Anyway, tangent here. Mr. Shear, we're back into scheduling drum camps.
Okay, yeah. So scheduling drum camps. Okay, we're going to break this down into time of year, time of day, and then some specifics on what the actual schedule inside the camp looks like. So first, let's talk about time of year. Mr. Bush, is there an ideal, in your perfect scenario, time of year that you would have a camp or camps? If you had the ability to do two, what would that look like? And what if you had the ability to only do one?
Yeah, for me, perfect. For me, ideally, in a perfect situation, if I can only do one, it is after the last week of school. So it's the first week when school gets out. So, the students often have vacations or whatever. They have all this type of stuff. But usually that week is pretty good at keeping them locked down. Ideally, at Capel, we have this great situation. The line is already set by then.
Yeah.
And so for the past kind of 3 or 4 weeks prior to that, I am doing after-school sectionals once a week with each battery section. So like an hour with the bass, an hour with the quad, an hour with the snare. That is, by the way, if you listen to the Drumline audition podcast, so we had those help sessions. That's what's in place of those help sessions now is I'm doing that. And my goal is to set the students up for example, we're going to have a quad specialist like Mr. Jonathan Anderson come in. I want the quads to know all the procedures, the routines, to be able to play in time with as good a sound as possible, to be on a single drum. So that when the quad specialist is there, he can spend as much time doing quad specific stuff as humanly possible, right?
Absolutely.
Same thing with the bass, right? I'm trying to ensure that, I tend to teach the snares over the summer, and then over the school year, I take over the bass responsibilities, and Ms. Yamuni does the snares. It's very important to me that when Mr. Straub comes in to teach the basses, I have set the basses up so that Mr. Straub can get the most out of that time with them. And so if we do all that, and then we don't have camp and they disappear for the summer and then they come back later, often a lot of that's kind of wasted. So that would be my ideal if we had one. If we had two, I would do that one. And then the second one would be at the end of summer. It would be like the week before band camp started, or depending on how your band camp schedule is, the first week of band camp, so that we can kind of get back into things again.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to be clear, you're saying that you're meeting with the students after the line is set, still during the school year. You're having some like after school rehearsals,
like Wednesday after
essentially.
school for 6 to 7 is basses or something like that. Yes, yeah. Again, because this camp is so precious and so valuable, and it's like the only time the entire year is like no band, no this, no whatever. And we might be spending a lot of money to bring in really high quality people.
Right.
I want everybody, mostly the students, obviously, to get the most out of this.
Got it. So we're talking like April, May, maybe you're doing that after school rehearsals. And then in a perfect world, a June camp, first week school gets out. And then maybe a late July camp the week before band camp starts, or maybe that first week that band camp starts. Got it. Now, Miss Islas, what if we're only able to have one camp? We can only have one. I can't do two. I'm sorry. Should I do that right after school is out in June, or should I do that in July? What do you think?
Yeah. Right after school is out is ideal because they're already used to being in a routine of coming up to school. So they don't leave for summer and go on vacation for a week and then have to come back and work really hard. Also, it's so important that we established a standard at the beginning of expectations of how to learn new exercises or new music, and that they can take that with them to the rest of the summer when they have plenty of time to practice on their own, so they're not potentially learning music the wrong way or at too fast of tempos, or it also just invites potential sectionals or playing together that won't happen if you save your camp for the end of the summer.
Yeah. Now, there is one exception that I would like to talk about here is it's also a little dependent on who you would like to teach the camp and their availability.
That's true.
Yes.
Right? Where, there's been situations, our great friend, Mr. Mike Lemish, right, would like to have us at Argyle. When's the Coppell camp? Okay, our Coppell camp's here. And he would say, if I do camp the next week, the week after Coppell, and I pay you really well, and I feed you plenty of barbecue, right? Whatever, would you be willing? And then it's like, okay, yes, the answer is yes. And to him, it was more valuable to have staff he trusted and he knew would do a great job if that meant delaying camp a week than forcing the camp to be on a week where there wasn't a lot of staff available.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Speaking of staff, you guys mentioned some names. I want to put spotlights on these people because they're wonderful. Clayton Stroup. So you mentioned earlier, Mr. Stroup, Clayton Stroup, who has an awesome YouTube channel where he plays 9 different instruments.
Everything.
And plays all sorts of music. There's dogs involved. Also former roommate of mine, Clayton Stroup. We go way back. You also mentioned Eliana Yamuni, who is famous, but in the percussion world, awesome snare drummer for Vanguard, but also a staff member now at Coppell.
Incredible teacher. I mean, that's a whole future episode, maybe, if we're ever lucky enough to interview her. But, over the years, seen so many people that are wonderful players. Just because you're a great player does not mean you're a good teacher.
Yes.
Right.
And she is definitely the exception to a rule in that,
Absolutely. So, okay, now we've talked about time of year. Now let's talk about time of day. I think this was the biggest change for me at Coppell. When I got there, the schedule was like 3 a days. It was like 8 to 12, 1 to 5, 6 to 9, I think. It was, and that last block was outside tracking, just like beating them down. And then it ended up changing a lot after conversations with you all. Jimmy LeBrecq was also very influential on me, talking to him about what he had done. In general, I think the most influential thing on time of day and how your camp looks is your start time. So we can go a little earlier start, which is typically going to look like 8 a.m. or 9 a.m., or we can go a later start, which is going to look like maybe 10 or 11. And we used to start earlier. When you guys started talking to me about starting later, I was like, what are you talking about? Like things, I just had this mindset, like things start at 8.
Yeah.
They just, I don't know. That's what school day starts at 8. Summer band starts at 8, whatever. Like things start at 8, Mr. Bush. I guess you're not aware of that, but that's what it is. But you all kind of laid out for me your experiences of starting later and the benefits to that. And I was like, that makes more sense. So talk a little bit about what it looks like to start later and why that works well.
I would say number one reason, people need sleep. I need sleep, and the kids especially need sleep.
But won't they just, if I send them home at 5, Miss Islas, they'll go to bed by, they'll go to bed by 7:30.
That just gives them more time to play video games.
Oh, yes, you're exactly right. Yeah.
They're going to stay up late regardless, and they're going to sleep in as long as you'll allow them to sleep in. And so during the camp, I need them to be on their game and awake and alert so we can get some stuff done. We don't have any time to waste.
Especially as the week goes on.
Especially as the week goes on.
Yep.
And if you add any marching to that, they're going to be physically tired too. Like, they need time to recover. And by starting later, they're more likely to get more sleep. Number 2 reason, if you do have staff that you're hiring to come in, often they're not in the city. They don't live in the city where the school is. So they might be driving 30 minutes. They might be driving an hour. They might be driving further. But that allows them to kind of avoid some of the nasty traffic.
Yep.
So it cuts down their time that they're on the road and the time that they have to be up. What would you say?
Yeah, and then I would say, to me, that's the number 3. I mean, for us personally, it's probably the number 2. You know, but later start time also gives a chance for some of the weaker students in the program to get there a little early, to get there half an hour out earlier, an hour early, and hook up with section leaders or even yourself. Right? This is something that Jimmy used to do. Is even though they're starting at 10, he's probably there at 5.
Mr. LeBrecq was there early.
You know, like hand shaving the marimba bar or something, right? You know, you know, when it goes to the Drumline audition, we alluded to section leaders, and that will be a future episode. This is not just something to put on your resume for Princeton. Right? If you have earned this responsibility of being a section leader at the Coppell percussion program, like, you are going to earn this. And so if there is a kid, you know, if third base is not cutting it, dude, you need to get here early with that, like, you and them. And I had very profound moments in my drum corps time where very strong section leaders would drum with me one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And there is something that is developed in the student to student drumming that is separate than the student to staff.
Absolutely.
Right? And this build is one of the ways to literally build into that. Because kind of like what you said earlier, that freshman on third base, if they get to go home at 5, they're going home at 5. Yeah. And their parents are picking them at 5. And it's, you know,
parents are picking them up. That's the thing, right? Even if they want to stay.
Guess what? Their parents had to drop them off at 8.
Yeah.
Right. They have to hang out for an hour or 2.
Yep.
Or they're already here anyway, right? Because their parents had to go to work.
Yep.
And if this section leader is, you know, if you selected the right individual, they will drive up early to be with that person and hang out with them and drum.
Yeah, so often when someone will ask me to come out and work with their group or work, you know, kind of consult with them, like as a teacher or whatever, I hear percussion directors and band directors say this phrase all the time. And it's just something I think we're to the point that it just comes out of our mouth and it doesn't actually mean anything to anyone, the student either. They'll say like, yeah, that's something, you know, put that on the list where we really need to work on that. or for Drumline camp, for Drumline camp, they'll go, you really need to hit that before tomorrow.
And everybody nods. Everybody knows it's not going to get done.
Yeah, everybody nods. You're like, okay, and then you just move on. And I have actually stopped and been like, wait a minute, stop. When?
Yeah.
When? You're here until dark 30 tonight, and then you start early in the morning. So, like, actually, Mr. Band Director, when do you think they are going to work on it? They're not.
Yeah.
And then you're going to show up tomorrow. It's going to be the same situation. So having a later start time, yes, it just solves so many problems. I was actually really surprised by how influential that was. What about the lunch break? We need maybe 15 minutes to grab a snack or something, and then get right back at it because we've got to use all of the time for full group rehearsal, right?
Mm-hmm.
No. Okay.
No. We need some time.
Yeah.
Everybody needs some time.
Okay. So how, like, literally, Miss Islas, I have had lunch breaks everywhere. I actually had a summer band where the head director scheduled, I don't even know what it was called, like snack time or something, and we like didn't
For lunch?
leave. Yes, it was like weird. We like didn't leave, and it was like 30 minutes long, maybe. And then I've had drumline camps that were all the way up to 2 hours.
Yeah.
So what have your experiences been? What do you think? Again, all of this falls into the heading of what gets the best result for the week.
Yes.
What do you think works the best?
I feel that 2 hours is ideal, hour and a half. If you can't do 2 hours, the longer lunch break allows for time away from the instrument, for the kids to have a mental break, potentially time for kids to hang out with each other, go to lunch together, hang out with the bonding is very important for these sections, especially because it's potentially at the very beginning of the season. You'll have new kids in the section that need to get to know some of the kids that have been there. It's very useful for that. And then you also have time for the staff, if there is a staff, to talk about what happened in the previous block and plan ahead if we need to make adjustments to the schedule or we want to figure out what tempos things are going to be at. Like, there's actually time to discuss that and eat. And then again, kind of like having a later start time, if you have some time within that break for kids to come back and look at music and play together, then there's more likely that you're going to make more progress when you guys are together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just like we just said, if you've got Vibe 3 over here who really just needs to work on those 4 bars.
Yeah, just
But
4
it's
minutes.
kind of holding the rest of the group up or whatever. Like, if you only have an hour for lunch, Vibe 3 is running to Chick-fil-A. He's coming right back. There's no time.
Yeah.
But if you can actually go like, no, listen, this is the reason we scheduled this way. It's for you, Vibe 3. It's
Yes.
for these 4 bars.
Yeah.
So really, you have time at lunch.
Yeah.
This needs to be worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All the best staffs I've ever been on, for sure. Like, when the lunch begins, everybody is talking about and it is a natural thing as a good educator. You're excited to talk about, this is what the bass line, this is what snares did, what did the front ensemble do? Oh, this person was struggling with this, and you're wanting feedback from the other high quality educators you're working with, like, oh, how would you handle this problem? How have you seen it handled before? How do you, it's all great stuff. Like, this isn't a time to talk about your cat or your next vacation, right? Or this is a time to focus on making the student's life as good as possible and making as much out of this. And, a really strong example of this was a couple years ago when we did our Neon Dystopia show. I remember clearly at the Monday lunch, Mr. Strout being like, bro, the bass line is unreal. Like, even for Capel standards, like, they're just chewing through everything. And I'm throwing, these impossible math equations, and it's crazy. And I said, there's been this 9-lit bugada crescendo decrescendo thing I've always wanted to kind of do, but I've just never thought a high school bass line could do it. I've always dreamed of, but I just never really thought a high school could do it at the quality I would be okay with. And he was like, well, write it up tonight and let me start teaching it and let's see what happens. And literally every lunch the rest of the week when we came back to the band hall, the bass line was always there and they were working on the bass break.
Yep.
And they could do it. Mm-hmm. They could do it at the first contest, you know what I mean? All the way through the video shoot. And that's another one of those, that opportunity, that moment wouldn't have kind of really happened if we hadn't had a built-in relaxed lunch and then they hadn't had the extra time on their own to kind of put in the work and earn the thing,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Longer lunch break wins. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about, we've established when the camps should happen. We've established that we want to start a little later. We have a longer lunch break. Now, what do these rehearsal blocks actually look like? Are we in full ensemble all the time? If we have the opportunity to, how much time should we spend in subs? What does that look like, again, for like what you're doing at Capel or what your ideal kind of situation is for you guys?
Yeah, it's different for different groups and depending on priorities and this and that. But as Islas mentioned in an earlier episode, it is important for us to help try to foster a very positive relationship between the battery and the front ensemble and not an adversarial thing. And that's not going to necessarily happen organically because they rehearse so separate and they do separate things. So you're looking for opportunities to bring them together and do things together. Also, as we've talked many times, your actions are what are important, not as much as your words, right? So we begin every day exactly the same during Drumline camp. And that is the entire group, front ensemble, JV, varsity battery. We are all together in one room, and Mr. Bush is leading them on a stretch. And the stretch is designed, a lot of this I got from Art Avila. Shout out to Art Avila, Eastwood High School, El Paso, Texas. But it is about 10 to 15 minutes of, and Mr. Osmore has some stuff in here too, things for your wrists, things for your fingers, things for your arm, things for your neck, whatever. This whole procedure that we run them through. And we're showing them that, hey, because we're dedicating this time, like your physical health and well-being is important to us. Taking care of your hands is going to put you in better shape to play throughout the rest of the day. Their hands are also not ready for the camp.
Yeah.
They're going from regular school to like hitting a vibraphone all day, right?
6-7 hours a day.
Right.
You don't see the football team or the soccer team or whoever like get together and not stretch or whatever before they start, and so we're trying to show, and I'm also for the highest students in the program, like our Joyce Towers that just made state or whatever. Then in the future, when they're at region or they're solo or they're whatever, they have these little things that they can do. Or I'm in a situation where we're in the end zone and there's a delay coming on the field because of a speaker malfunction from the previous group or whatever, where I can look at the entire group, or a rehearsal with a clinician. We do this often. I do this with a front ensemble. We have a band clinician. They're being rehearsed. It's freezing. The clarinets, blah, blah, blah. I look at the front ensemble and I just put my hands together and do the JoJo Mayer clap. And the whole front ensemble just puts their hands together and starts doing it.
Oh,
right?
yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. So establishing that's how every day begins, right? Mm-hmm. Then we go into subs after that.
Yeah, and the schedule will change throughout the week. At the beginning of the week, we typically have a full day of subs. Again, to utilize potential staff that's there. If you, as a director, are paying good money to bring these people in, hopefully these people that you trust and you respect their input, then you want to give some time for them to actually do what they do.
You know who else has some input is the dog Musashi.
Yeah.
I don't know if you just heard that or not.
Oh, yeah.
But our listeners may value that input as well.
Yeah. She wants to let everyone to know it's past dinner time. The first day will be full subs the entire day to really settle in and give time needed to whatever each individual section needs. Now, if you don't have access to that much staff, obviously that would potentially change. But that's how we do it. The second day is usually split up into subs for the full front ensemble for the full day. But I believe the battery usually will get together for a portion of the day to start drumming together. And, in front ensemble land, sometimes learning music is a little bit more involved, right? There's more parts, there's more players, the level of experience and skill sometimes is a little bit deeper. So when I'm running a front ensemble, I want to make sure that whatever music we are digesting, we're doing it right at the beginning so that I don't miss any of those details and they don't miss any of those details.
So you're valuing quality over quantity when learning music at the beginning.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So we're going to be on our own for another full day. And then the third day on Wednesday is usually when we have some time where we get together with the full ensemble, battery and front ensemble together. That allows also for some tempos to come up, which we can get into in another episode. But so the amount of time we are spending as individual subsections, whether it's just the bass line or the quad line or front ensemble only, gets a little shorter and shorter each day throughout the week.
Right.
Yeah, one of the things that you used to do, Mr. Shearer, that we really enjoyed, and a lot of great guys we've worked with over the years have done something similar to this, if not this, is like a kind of like a parent performance or a preview thing at the very end of camp, right? What was your thoughts behind that?
Yeah, I think it's really important. There are things that can do something different than what you can do as an educator with more rehearsal time at that point, right? So it's like Friday, we've been going really hard all week. There are probably some things that we've kind of hit a wall on, and that might just be like, hey, we just need more time, or we just need more chops or whatever. But putting those students in a performance situation at the end of the week is hugely beneficial. And it not only does it make them better in that moment to go like, okay, wherever we are on this, as long as it's appropriate, you want to give them something that they're not going to be successful at. But like wherever we are on this, even if I've still got a little doubt about letter B or whatever, like we got to play it, in that moment that levels the group up and adds a level of maturity. But also during the week, being able to point to that.
Yeah.
And even on Monday, go like, hey,
in 4 days.
this is coming up.
Yeah.
I know that this started to happen when I was there. And from what you guys have said, it sounds like it's even gone to a next level now that like former students a lot of times will come back and see the group, which is just, that's so neat.
Yeah.
That's so neat. A lot of times they might just be getting home from college at that point, or maybe they've been home from a couple weeks or whatever. But they get to come see the group. It's a chance for them. And I know actually I would kind of like maybe touch base with those former students in advance, or if I see them come in the door and go like, hey, I really want you to flip out when the basses, do this thing or whatever. Like even if, or like, hey, when the vibes do this thing, even if it's not perfect, make sure you clap or whatever, like just because I want the new group to feel special. Another thing I was just thinking when you were talking about being in subs earlier in the week, like, well, what if I'm a group that doesn't have 9 staff members? I would argue it might even be more valuable. Let's say you're by yourself. And actually, my first year teaching at Rockwell Heath High School, I think I had like maybe one other guy helping me, or there was a week where I was by myself, something like that. I would argue it might be better to go like, hey, I'm going to spend, if I've got a day or two and it's only me, I'm going to do maybe 2 hours with the basses and then 2 hours with the snare and quads and then 2 hours with marimbas and 2 hours of vibes or something like that.
Absolutely.
That might be better than just having, I got to get them all up here. No. That isolated time is so valuable.
And the band hall's open. You can give them assignments. You can give them things to practice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And come up on their own. They can run little subsectionals on their own.
Yes.
Yep. And again, even though you might be there for 2 hours, their call time is at least an hour before that. And the section leader is warming them up or doing this or that. Or, again, if you're a section leader, we're relying on you to help out here. Yeah.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Mr. Bush.
I was just going to say, Mr. Shear, maybe not jump ahead too much or this, that, but another thing that you did that I used to love is, 2 things, and this might be getting a little bit too off schedule, but then on schedule, is, on day one, it's like you would have great drum lines and drum lines you want the students to emulate and hear like playing on the speakers on the, so they're not coming in on their phones. They're not coming, as soon as they walk in, it's like the tone is set. And along with that kind of professionalism, and this is a place of business mentality, on the board, you would already have the dates for next year's camp.
Yes.
To ensure like, hey, you are writing them down right now. And I know that's something that Randy's adopted over the years too. And because this week is so important, we need to know about it during the audition process. And it's not fair to the student if they don't know about it. Like, hey, these have been here for a year.
Yes.
Right? And if you have to go to Aspen or Malaysia or whatever, that's fine. But then you're not getting a spot in varsity, or you can't be on the baseline or whatever.
So first, I'll give credit where credit is due. I learned that from Mike Lemish at Argyle. And second, I'll say, just to kind of be bluntly honest here, we're all, I'm pointing the finger at myself. We've all done this, but a lot of times I will hear friends, other educators, I dare say, complain, oh, well, man, I don't know. My students, I can never get the full baseline there in June, or like, oh, we had this thing and I blah, blah, blah. And I'm just going to say, maybe not every time, but a lot of times, I'm sorry, that's your fault.
That's on you, man. Yeah. It's a reflection
Communication,
of you.
Number one.
Yep.
Kids, do you communicate with the kids? Yeah, maybe kind of. Communicating with the kids is kind of worthless.
Yep.
Yeah.
You are communicating with the parents. That's who runs their lives. Okay? So when on that parent performance on Friday that you're talking about, I would look at the parents in the eyes and say, right here, 365 days from now, there are the dates. It's not optional. Please, actually, could you get out your phones right now? Could you write it down? No, please, you, Miss Johnson, that means you. Really, make it a little uncomfortable if you have to, if you want every kid to be there.
And there have to be consequences.
Yeah.
Right. And it might not be like removing a kid from band.
Sure.
But maybe they don't get to be on the section they want to be on. Maybe they're not on the battery. Maybe they're not playing one of the most important parts. Or maybe they're an alternate. Or maybe they're not involved in like the Drumline show performances at the Drumline contest. There has to be some kind of consequence that says through your actions to the students and the parents that, these dates are important. Because we are respecting the time of everyone in the group. If you were not there, that's disrespectful.
Absolutely. Yeah. One more thing I haven't heard you guys mention. You're talking about the schedule for the day, and we're starting with subs. We're getting together. We're working towards a performance. What about going outside? What about tracking? Don't we need to be out there glistening in the sun with our shirts off, Mr. Bush? Just, getting a sunburn and tracking every single day outside all day?
Yeah, again, I think it depends on you and your priorities.
Okay.
Right? And what you're kind of working for the group. We are very, very fortunate. Ms. Shuttlesworth, during the full band, summer band, right? They have marching fundamentals and blocks, and she allows us on our own to go at our own pace, which this might be a hot take here, but I think any sane band director should do, right?
Yes.
If you have a percussion specialist that you trust at all, which if you don't, you shouldn't have hired them, right? But if you do and you trust them, you need to give them this opportunity because they can move so much faster and learn so much quicker when they're by their own, right? And so for us specifically at Coppell, that works pretty well. But, if you are more of a WGI focused group or this or that, maybe you do need to be out there tracking, right? Again, I think it's like or if you don't have the summer band option or there's weather things or whatever,
Sure.
I think you do whatever you need for your group. But I don't think the Drumline police are going to come arrest you, right? If you're not outside tracking.
And also, I will say, I have been a part of some staffs teaching camps, or I've been involved with some groups where it's like, yeah, actually, I do see the need for you guys to get outside and do some tracking. That's great, but not right now.
Yes.
We don't know how to
not
bring
now.
our sticks out. Yeah. We don't have these procedures locked down. It's just going to be a mess when we get out there.
Yeah, and to kind of clarify and go back on that as well, if you have not took time before the camp to set all the carriers to the new line, you're going to pay these guys and you're going to hire this staff. I've had that situation where it's like, oh, we're going to track. It's like, oh, wait, this is a whole new line from last year. Mm-hmm. So now we're spending an hour and a half. I'm sitting here getting paid doing nothing.
Yeah.
Just watching people set carriers.
Mess with equipment.
And then what was supposed to be base sub time, I've now lost because now we got to go outside and track, probably without a Met.
Yeah.
And guess what? It doesn't work out very well.
Absolutely.
Right? So if you are going to track, that's fine. But man, don't waste your staff's time. Like, make sure you've done whatever you need to do before so that we're ready to go and get some stuff done.
True story. My first day student teaching at Colleyville Heritage High School with Jeff Osdemore. Ever heard of him?
Yeah, legend.
I come out to the band field. They're out there. They're tracking. It's like Drumline camp or something. And I'm like, I'm kind of scared. I'm like the young kid. I'm like, what's going on out here? I walk out there, and those guys could track.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Osdemore had those kids tracking.
Mr. Osdemore, Mr. Gibson, Mr. Niemeyer.
Yes.
Tracking dudes.
Mr. Niemeyer is working with the group. Mr. Dan Niemeyer, wonderful teacher, great, very funny guy. Mm-hmm. I come out there. They're tracking. They're playing 5-lit 1-note timing, which I didn't even know high schools could play.
Yes,
that
yeah.
I was like, it's like one of those things you walk up, and as you're walking, you're like, what are they playing?
What are they
What is this?
And then I'm like, oh, wait, no, that is what they're playing. Okay. But that's an example of a school who had like a culture of tracking. And
for sure.
And had that really going very well.
And they marched their Drumline competitive show, unlike Coppell. So it makes sense. Like, if we were marching, we would be moving too.
Yeah, it was in alignment with their goals.
Right.
In alignment with their goals. Okay, so I've got all this worked out. I've got my schedule. I know what it's going to look like. But what about the actual staff that I'm going to hire? Okay, if I can hire a staff. First of all, I will say this is a really good use of your money. If you're a percussion director and you're like, I have limited funds, what should I spend it on? One of the highest priorities is getting some specialized staff for this week. So how would I try to select those people? What kind of teachers am I looking for? Where might I find them? How has that worked in your experience? For you guys, I know you've been kind of on both sides here. You've been hiring staff. You've also been hired several times. So what does that look like for you, Miss Islas?
One option is potentially your lesson staff.
Yeah.
If they have experience with Drumline, which they probably do if you're in the Texas area, but not everywhere. But if they have experience with Drumline or percussion ensemble, that would be a good opportunity to involve them more in the program throughout the year. And if you have funds to pay them, even better, because they can have more reason to stick around next year. Yeah. But that's a really good, I've been brought in a lot of the time when I've been kind of maybe third or fourth tier on the list in terms of lesson staff because I was new to the program, but I had some experience, so I was brought in. Another good source would be just looking around at the programs that you think are doing well and talking to whoever's running them and getting feedback on who's taking your front ensemble, who's taking your bass line.
So, okay, are you telling me, maybe this is a little bit of a hot take here, it's okay for me to go, wow, that group sounds really good. I might want to use their teachers.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
It's smart.
Yes. And I think sometimes there's a hesitance to do that.
I think a football coach wants the best, defensive line coach they can get.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. And this is the exact experience I had when I met you guys, right?
Yep.
You guys were out teaching all of these groups that I was watching, and I was like, wait, who teaches? Who wrote that? Who teaches that baseline? Who are these people? And I looked around, I asked, I called, I got your number from somebody. And I think Mr. Bush, my first conversation was with you. And I called you and I was like, hi, I'm Zach Shear. You don't know me. Seems like you're pretty good at teaching bass drum, judging by what I'm seeing here. Tell me what you're doing. I already had someone teaching my basses who I actually was happy with. He was doing some really great things, but I was looking for maybe another thing, and that's what led me to you all. So I would say select your staff carefully, select them early.
Yeah.
Try not to be stuck in a situation where you've got to get whoever you've got to get.
Yeah.
That's a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely.
What about the size of the staff? Like, do I have to have a person for each instrument? What if I'm looking at kind of going like, people and size and whatever? Is it important just to get a great teacher, or does it have to be someone on that specific instrument?
I go back to what you said earlier, personally, in terms of quality over quantity.
Yes.
Again, like I would pay more money to have higher quality, to have less people of higher quality than, and I don't know if we've all experienced, but I've experienced this before where you might have a pretty qualified snare educator and a pretty qualified quad educator, but this guy marched Group A and that guy marched Group B.
Oh, yeah.
And Group A beat Group B, but they weren't supposed to beat Group B because, Marty Griffin or what, Julie Davila and then the toxicity between these two 23-year-olds or whatever, with little to no experience teaching, or I got, oh man, this kid just aged out Boston or Vanguard, whoever, he must be amazing. And then they get in front of the kids and treat them like they are Boston or Phantom or whatever. And it's like, no, man, this kid's 14, right? You need to use a med. You can't just click sticks, right? So I think that if you are in a privileged situation of having a large staff of quality people, but that goes back to all this things. The people who get that are the people that are professional, that are on top of their communication, they're getting the people early, and that are paying them well, which is something that you always did very well, Mr. Shear, and that Mr. Wynn and Mr. Chernow before him always did great, and we're so thankful of.
Yeah, and that's the thing, again, in the education world, I think sometimes we don't talk about enough, but it's no secret, money talks. And that's just the way it is. So, again, some people might hear that and that might bounce off you and go, well, that, my school doesn't have as much. Okay, let's talk about what you can do with what you do have. And it is a truth that money talks. So even if you don't have a lot, how can you use what you do have, and who can you get on your team there? Yeah, that's so important. I think also when we're talking about who to hire, I would sum up what you just said, Mr. Bush, as to say, playing experience and being in a great group does not necessarily equal being a great teacher. That's important.
Yep.
That's important to realize. But another thing that I think, if you're listening to this and you're the percussion director or band director in charge, even if you have a great staff, you will not get as much out of them as you need to if you're not setting clear and high expectations for them. So when that staff rolls in on the first day, maybe this is 30 minutes before, maybe it's right when it starts and the kids are doing something else, but you need to set clear expectations of what it looks like to show up on time and play the exercises that you're given. And if we're getting together for full ensemble or whatever, like, okay, we're going to start full ensemble at 1. Does that mean we start moving at 1?
Yes.
Does that mean
downbeat is
because
at
I got
1.
news for you. On day 1, the quads don't know how to move their stuff.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
a project.
And then the front ensemble is just waiting around, and it's like just wasted wasted time, right? So if there's someone in charge, and there should be someone in charge, then you have got to set that expectation and make it clear to the staff member, and then again, hold them accountable for that, especially if you're paying them well, right?
Especially if you're paying them well, and especially if you're paying them on Friday.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, you're saying that the camp is Monday through Friday, and before you leave, you would actually be paid on Friday. Go home with money.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Have you actually experienced this, Mr. Bush, or is this just a pipe dream?
There are a few incredible programs like Coppell, like Argyle, where I've experienced these things. And those two groups I just mentioned, I guess, are the two I've done the most drumline camps for.
Yeah.
So I wonder
What do you
if
know?
there's something that, other groups that took months and months and months, And it's the same thing, TeamIslas and I do a ton of arranging. So we work with so many schools, right? And it's the same kind of thing, schools that are really organized and on top of their stuff, we tend to get paid promptly, right? Schools that are not, we tend to wait a long time and have to kind of hound, hey, when are we going to get the payment? And so when new schools come knocking, whether it's arranging gigs or teaching gigs, right? This definitely factors into it. It's not the only thing, but it does factor into it.
Absolutely. And I would put that under the heading of money talks. It talks a little more when you get it sooner.
Yeah.
Right? Like maybe I can't pay quite as much as the guy down the road, but I will pay you on Friday. And guy down the road, not saying anything, but I've heard he might not pay you for 3 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's worth more if I have that check on Friday.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say, as the employee of the school district, I believe one of the things that's really important is that if you are up there all day, every day, Monday through Friday, teaching this camp, running the full ensemble stuff, you're hiring the staff, you're the first one there, you're the last one to leave, you are not a volunteer. You deserve to be paid for your time and your expertise. So I think it's far too common in our field that we just think it's an obligation to work for free, to be gone, away from home, away from your family, whatever, for free. And that should not be the case. I don't think actually probably everyone expects that to be the case, but we just kind of think, oh, well, that's just what I should do. So if you actually have like extra days in your contract and those are those contract days that you're there for the camp, well, then, okay, you're being compensated. That's great. But if not, you need to be paid either through the district or through the boosters or through whatever arrangement needs to be worked out so that you are not a volunteer. That's not the way it should be, and it's not sustainable either.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that might look different for different people. Obviously, you need to get ahead of that, have appropriate professional conversations with your head director, principal, whoever. But do not be afraid to just say, hey, I'm not a volunteer. I have time and I have expertise, and that has value.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, I mean, that's so much the impetus of this entire podcast, right? Has been trying to impart advice, wisdom, knowledge, things that we've gained over the years that would have helped us when we were younger in our career and that will hopefully help younger people in their career now be able to stay in the career longer and have a more positive impact, not just on their lives, but on shaping the future generation of wonderful musicians. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us today, friends. If you have any questions for the podcast, send them to teamislas@gmail.com. That's TeamIslas, TeamIslas@gmail.com. Shout out to all the great percussion companies that support Team Islas. That's Mapex Majestic Percussion, Remo Drumheads, ProMark Sticks and Mallets, Sabian Cymbals, Beetle Percussion, and Lot Ride Apparel. A lot of drumline exercises and etudes can be found in the book Super Hands. Or maybe you're looking for an advanced snare ensemble for your students to play, and you want to pick up El Chupacabra as performed by the PASIC champion Eastwood Snare Line. Shout out to Art Avila again. Miss Islas, where can you pick up these beats?
TeamIslas.com, Lulu.com, Dallas Percussion, Steve Weiss Music, or even your favorite local music store.
Absolutely. And if you can teach a drumline how to play 2-accent triplet grid off the left while marching box drill at 220, then don't forget to like, subscribe. Please give us that 5-lit 5-star review. Remember, friends, step 1 is time, step 2 is sound, and step 3 is subscribing to the Team Islas podcast.